everyone. Hi, I'm Professor Imler, and I'm going to kind of not really talk through, just kind of introduce the readings for this unit. So our first one comes from our textbook. It's called What is Thinking? It's the introduction to the textbook. And it just tries to, you can kind of see on this outline I've provided over there. It wants to tell you how the book is organized, kind of, hey, if this is a resource, how are you going to use it, right? We want to realize, hey, thinking is really important. And so if it's important, well, we should do it well. If I'm going to cook some food, I want to cook it well. I don't want it to undercook and then I poison myself, right? So good thinking is really important. And so that means we need to think about what good thinking consists of, right? And so that's what this book wants to do. It wants to give you those skills to be able to think well. If you build anything, any kind of construction, you want good tools. You can do an okay job, not really knowing what you do. I'm sorry, that's not the right way to say that. If you have mediocre tools, yeah, you can get the job done. But it's really nice. I mean, gosh, it's really nice to have excellent tools. And then it makes the job so much easier. So anyway, talk to anyone who does construction or builds anything, or, really just think about any task in your life. If you have the good tools, it makes the task a lot easier and you can do it well. So we all thinking is important. It's helpful to have good tools, and this class wants to do that. Okay, is logic difficult? No. You all do it every single day. This book will just kind of give you a bit of a language and organization to go, oh, that's what I'm doing already. Or here's maybe how I can do that thing, but a bit better. Or here's how I can talk to this person on how we might reason through this problem, right? So in that sense, logic is not difficult. You do it all the time. People around you do it all the time. With that said, I have built very few things. I think the most complex was literally a turkey composter. Growing up on a turkey farm, we composted turkeys, had to build that thing. Meaning I don't know much. I know screws are better than nails when you put wood together, but I don't know anything. Now, contrast that with other people who build houses or build cabinets in houses, that type of thing. If you talk to that person who is highly skilled and has a long history of doing this and then having their work double checked because people got to live in the houses, you'll find that building stuff is insanely difficult, and you really need to do it well once you're getting into the big and not important stuff, but the major stuff, right? The principles might be easy and you can pick them up, but if you want to build grand things or make really important arguments on difficult matters, maybe having some of these resources is helpful. So maybe the best way to say this is logic is only as difficult as the problem you're trying to solve. That really might be the best way to put it, at least in my point of view. I've taught for a few years, a good long while, a decade and a half, and I am amazed by how clever all of you all are, and your class, no different than anyone else. So in that sense, it's not going to be a difficult class. You can do it, but to get into the weeds, you'll have to get through the weeds. Okay, and then finally, notice we're moving backwards. What is thinking itself? And we'll find that is so much more difficult to figure out than we might realize. This will give you kind of an introduction to it. It does have something to do with the mind, but from there, it gets really thorny. Yeah, and then what is in charge of our reasoning? Is it just some mathematical thing and just like a machine? Is it the ability to weigh options that where mechanical movement of ideas, mechanical reasoning doesn't give you the answer? Is that thinking, being able to go above the mechanical reasoning stuff? All kinds of discussions here, and or is it just chemical processes in our brains that happen according to the set of chemicals and forces in front of the thing? All of that stuff. So we're going to watch some videos on it, and that's the second one. I'll try to kind of speed this up. So this is one from Abigail Thorne from Philosophy Tube. Wonderful Pepsi there. Let me pull up my notes on this. Sorry. And so they take up the question of rationality. It's a great video. I don't want to play it. I think I could play it. I don't know. I don't need to. So anyway, let's get back to this. And so they focus on types of reasoning. And question is, are we... It's so hard because we're using the most basic terms to... So how do you... What terms do you use to talk about the most basic of terms, right? Reasoning, thinking. Can you break them up into different components? So what governs when we decide something in reasoning? That's hard to like set up. That's why we're having you watch Thorne, because so much better than I would do. Okay, so internalism. Is it your motivations? I want to be like this. This is who I am, and so this is how I make choices. Or is it the outside constraints? They'll go into it. And then we have this question of subjective versus objective reasoning. So kind of the question, means versus ends. Subjective reasoning is, hey, if that's my goal, how do I get there, right? Kind of Google map processing. But the other bit is objective. I like to think of it as meta, because meta just means above, right? So if this is like what we're trying to do, well, how do we know what we ought to do? Should I go to college? Should I go to that college? Should I do this? Should I take that job? Should I apply for this promotion? What governs that? And what happens in a society or in ourselves when we don't do that objective reason? What should we be chasing after? What do we prefer? And then talking to people, reasoning, right, about that with people. What effects does that have? Can we only go off of subjective reason? And there's this interesting Dollard experiment. Fascinating, great stuff. Check it out. Okay. Then they'll talk about all of this stuff. But the central problem is and I like the motivation bit. That might be what makes us human, is the ability to choose between different sets of reasons, or to choose against our biology. I don't have to allow the strongest male in the group to dominate everyone else, like in a chimpanzee or other animal settings. We can choose to do something different, and all of society is us kind of doing that in different ways. Culture is then ways of living that could otherwise be. But if it is motivation, this is what I want, this is what I don't want, we're going to argue about what we ought to want, talk with each other about that. What about someone who doesn't care? How do you reason with them? Is there some kind of above reasoning? Something else where we just claim it's a value? Or, I mean, what is it? And that's a great question. They're going to deal with it some. Okay, let's get to the last one. This is one of my favorite readings in the course. I'm going to upload a different PDF that works a bit better so you won't have this image, but it will say talk with me. So the main idea in all of this here is we just want to dispel crap about philosophy and logic itself. I mean, we've already said everyone reasons all of the time. We disagree with each other about those reasons and how to move through reasoning, but we're all able to do it. So anyway, what I want to highlight here is this focuses on the fact that philosophy never happens in a historical or social vacuum or a kinship vacuum, right? Meaning we talk with people, we read books, we listen to what's happening in society, we think about it, we try to figure out what works best, we talk to one another, we react to that. And that's really what goes on instead of the brilliant person goes and thinks the best thoughts and then comes and tells people. That doesn't happen at all. And even the best or maybe most impactful philosophy, I'll give 3 quick ones. Well, I mean, sorry, I could just give endless ones. But Descartes, guy we talk about all the time in philosophy class, kind of seen as the refounder of what we call the Western tradition, but really the North Atlantic reading tradition. Anyway, I'm getting far afield. Descartes was reacting to all of the social problems and all of the, social problems. There's so much there. He's reacting to what is going on. Nearly every area of knowledge fell apart, and he felt like, oh gosh, I have to figure out all of this because it's all falling apart. I don't know what to think or do. And then that was his project, but he's responding to what's going on. Plato, Socrates, in some sense, they are responding to, one, all of the other people they're talking to in Athenian society, but then even Athenian society is reacting against the various other city-states. And there had just been a major debt crisis. There had been the Peloponnesian Wars, and the opening of the Republic is what is justice, right? So they're responding and they're talking. And another thing, so much of the best philosophy are dialogues. In another book, I think it's chapter 2. Yeah, I think chapter 2 of The Dawn of Everything by David Wengrow and David Graeber, they talked about how we're very rarely self-conscious, in the moment going, oh, I should do this. Usually we're on autopilot. And we only have, at least according to these neuroscientists that they're quoting, only a few seconds of actual self-awareness versus just automatic going through the motions. You don't think about walking, you just walk somewhere. Anyway, where am I going with this? All of that changes when we're talking to another person. We can hold self-consciousness, this other state of thinking, for an amazing amount of time, so much long, like hours rather than seconds. And so that's the power of literally the power of talking with people, and why we often talk to ourselves when we think through problems. Anyway, what I want to say here is philosophy, the best of it, happens. It's an alive thing that happens between people in the moment, which sounds weird. But it's not something frozen and written down and thinned out. And this is, where is that? Is that on this one? Yeah. I know Plato. So Plato or Socrates through the mouth of Plato. Plato through the mouth of Socrates, because he wrote the dialogues. Where's that going with that? Writing. The there's this kind of this fun little snarky thing where one guy says, hey, this guy wrote this metaphysics books and it's better than your metaphysics, Socrates, or really Plato. And the response is, well, it cannot be because it is written down. And to write it down is to freeze it and to shrink the ideas. So it's impossible that his writing is better than you and I talking about it. And so that kind of sums that notion up. And so when you and I are doing philosophy, and remember, philosophy is just thinking about anything, we shouldn't talk past one another. We shouldn't only write it down. We should actually engage in discussion. And then the question is, how do we discuss stuff? How do we engage? How do we deal with difference? Which is a different set of questions. So anyway, that's what we want to do in this course. And there's always going to be like parts of the assignments and like the final itself, which is going to be, hey, practice, think about, figure out, create. What should you take from this course and apply to your life, but also really kind of your life in community, right? Like in your local community. I don't know that. What are your problems in your community right now that you can help out with? Or is there anything from this class, like at all, that might be helpful? Anyway, Talk With Me by Nigel Warburton. He's English. I don't know how to say his name. Might just be straightforward like that. Has us think about this. So he'll give a lot of details, some interesting stuff, but that notion of, hey, philosophy, if it's going to be, and logic, right? If it's to be helpful, it has to be active in doing things out in the world, and quite most commonly through talking with them. And so we want to not only think about reason that way at the very beginning, but have that kind of carry on throughout the course and always be thinking about, hey, can I use this? Is there anything that, oh, now that I figured out what scientific reasoning is like, how that like area works, oh, well, now I understand, or oh, now I can whatever. So anyway, have fun with this class. Enjoy these readings. Have lots of little conversations on the readings themselves. And I hope you enjoy it. I think you all will do great. I look forward to what you all ask and argue about and highlight and find meaningful here. Okay, with that said, talk with me. With that said, I look forward to talking with all of you all and to see you all talk to each other. In this Perusall discussion. Remember I hope this works. I'm using a tablet. And so let's just imagine I want to talk about, oh shoot, let me try this again. Boop. Okay, and then now it's not working well. Okay, yeah, okay. I'll just highlight something basic. Add a comment. What do they mean here with this? And then let's just imagine you say what the specific thing is, right? Now you post that comment, and then now other people can talk to you about it. And so, let me see if I can zoom in. Again, I usually work on a computer. But it's easier to right? And so anyone that highlights this, is on a normal screen, it'll be yellow or whatever the highlight is. We click on that. Let me zoom out again. And we can just talk to each other about that at that point in the reading or video. In the video, it does timestamps. It's really kind of cool. It's a bit weird to get back to this stuff on mobile. But let me go here. Let me just see. I will just jump to a random point in the timeline. Hit play. Hopefully it works. Boom. Can I pause? Love it. Oh, there we go. Pause. Okay, so now I want to say something about content content independent readings. So I'm gonna go over here and hit, oh, what are they talking about here? What are they saying or whatever? I'm typing on mobile. I would normally fix this up. But okay, right? And so then, check this out. Now, you see this little yellow dot. Let me see. I think I can draw on the screen here. All right. Let me get yellow. Boop. Right there. Nice little circle. Anyone that clicks on that will open up this comment. And then now we can talk about what they're talking about at that point in time. So it helps us have a more helpful discussion. So I hope this is a good way to talk about stuff. Other students seem to find it helpful. I love it. But get the hang of it, and I look forward to talking to you all, and I need to bring this to a close. Goodbye.